62 degrees centigrade, now 61, 42 minutes. Little video to talk about why WFL and I have been doing intermittent fasting from my sauna. I will turn this round. Hello. Hopefully, via the magic of editing, I'll be able to splice together the forward-facing camera, which showed that when I got into this sauna, it was 61 degrees. And also a screenshot of my fasting, which in a minute is 43.5 hours. So what I wanted to do was do a YouTube video, which I hope works well, to try and help people understand better why they need to be thinking about intermittent fasting. Now, I'm also trying to get this done because I've got a microphone on here because I want all you good people to hear my voice, and I'm trying to stick it onto the door. That's not going to happen, so you're going to just have to have me hold it in my hands. Anyway, rambling on. So I have done this fast for myself. I often do a 24-hour fast. And by often, I mean try and do one a week. The general rule is one 24-hour fast. Well, let me start again. So I do something called 1 meal a day eating. I try and get all my calories into one meal. To be honest with you, it doesn't always work. That's my ideal. And then I will drop down to time restricted eating. So I eat within a very narrow window, which is generally 4 to 6 hours. And I'll do that 7 days a week. Now, I'm going to open the door because I've forgotten my drink. And it's cold. I don't want the temperature to drop. Why do I do that? Well, put simply, I want to give my body a chance to rest and actually absorb and utilise all the nutrients I'm putting in. In my opinion, remember this is just my opinion, as my grandfather said, opinions and bumholes. Everyone's got them, we don't want to hear about them. So this is just my opinion. If you don't like it, not a problem. In my opinion, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to not just lead a long life, but a quality of life. So I'm trying to mitigate all those things that I know are going to be negative to me. For example, blue light, loud exposure, going to bed late, being on my phone, late, drinking alcohol, you know, all those sorts of things. I think everybody knows. And I certainly would say, in my role as a chiropractor, I'm not trying to make anybody force themselves into doing that or feel bad because they choose not to do it. But I think it's important that everybody understands we're not living in the same world that modern medicine created. There was a time when, yeah, infectious diseases were rife, but those aren't the problems anymore. And we've got to stop thinking in an old world way. And the old world is infectious disease, infectious disease. Everybody's healthy until the symptoms start. You're healthy until you are infected with tuberculosis or anthrax or listeria or whatever it may be. That was fine then, because the people that got infected, God love them, didn't have smartphones to worry about, didn't have chronic stress, didn't have lights that were on all night, didn't have, you know, they had seasonal jobs. They ate fresh fruit all the time, fresh food all the time. They didn't just eat because it was processed. They made their own food, or they made their food up from the nutritious components rather than having it pre-made. So we've got to stop thinking like them. We've got to start thinking like us, and we don't have the same problems. We've got new problems, and those problems fundamentally are excess of everything. Excess light, excess heat, excess noise, the whole list. You know what I'm talking about. So what I'm trying to do is to mitigate in my own life as best I can those things that I think would have a negative impact on me, and to try and do more of the positive stuff. So the easiest thing, apart from getting regularly adjusted, that I can do is control what goes into my mind, into my lungs, and fundamentally into my body, what I eat. Therefore, if I don't eat anything by default, yeah, after a while I probably would die, but then if I held my breath after a while I'd die. But holding your breath has been shown to improve your chemoreceptors to carbon dioxide, which actually helps to open up your blood vessels. So everything is in moderation. When I got woken up last week, so that was 5 days ago, by Sally at 4 o'clock in the morning, her face had swollen so much that whilst I wasn't concerned, she could breathe, she could swallow, she could drink water, etc., etc. It was somewhat of a wake-up call. Now, unfortunately, Sally has had a much more sensitive stomach than I have, partly because she got scalded as a child, and the left side of her neck has a scar from plastic surgery from donor skin graft. Now, what we now know, of course, is that has now affected her immune system and the digestive system. I don't want to go into too much detail, but the fact is that she's quite sensitive to what she eats. She's very limited on her diet. Now, of course, as with most people in life, including myself, when you feel better, you think, knackers to it, I'll have one more biscuit, one more, not biscuit, but, you know, crisps or lovely sourdough bread won't make a difference, but unfortunately, actually, it does. Now, she's, we think, touched some YEW, not you, obviously, and that set off an allergic response, which this time was actually quite, you know, I wouldn't say it was anaphylactic, but it was close to it. So we've been waiting for a GP appointment, which is cool. We're not in a rush. Like I said, there's no major damage. She's been taking antihistamines, doing well. I managed to get through, as I say, this is the 3rd of December 2024, so she's been doing wreath making workshops, and she's done really well. So she's decided to do a 5-day fast at the minute. Now, basically, she's fasting until she feels ready to move on. We're monitoring her, you know, making sure heart rate, blood pressure, all that sort of stuff is good. She's still drinking plenty of fluids, but fundamentally, she's made that decision. Now, I'll support her, but if I think she's going to be harming herself, we'll start to introduce some food to her. Now, the food that you introduce when you've been dieting for a while is generally protein and fat rich. You don't want to be whacking carbohydrates back in. For the life of me, I can't remember the name, something rebound. Basically, it was a phenomenon first observed in the Second World War when US soldiers liberated the concentration camps, and they gave the prisoners there their food. They'd obviously give them chocolate and things like that. They felt sorry for, understandably. And unfortunately, a lot of the inmates then, prisoners then died as a result of the sudden influx of carbohydrate. Now, again, I don't want to get into too much of it, but everything, rest assured, is being done properly. Why are we doing this? 70% of your immune system resides in your digestive tract. So if your immune system is being stimulated all the time, everything you put in your body, everything you put in your mouth is a foreign substance. Everything. Water is technically, pure water is not the same as the water in your body, because the water in your body's got all sorts of electrolytes and salts in. So technically we could even argue that pure water is a foreign object. Fat's a foreign object, protein's a foreign object, particularly if it's not your fat and protein. Carbohydrates are foreign objects. So every little one of those molecules, when it gets broken down, is stimulating your immune system just a little bit. If you've already got a hyper-aroused immune system because of pre-existing damage, infection, whatever, it's going to make that worse. And one of the things we didn't want to do with Sally was, as she was already perhaps reeling immunologically from the yew tree or the sap or whatever it is, she then innocently maybe tries to eat, a banana, let's say, and that then starts to trigger all sorts of problems. I'm saying banana just because the first came to my head, so don't shoot me. It could be, chicken, or it could be egg or whatever. The point is, she's chosen to create a space to allow her nervous system and her immune system to calm down. And you're probably thinking, why a nervous system? Well, because the nervous system and the immune system talk to each other. The stress response Okay, when you are emotionally stressed will also affect your immune system. So we want to try and calm down both. Now, to be fair to her, she feels a lot better. She's looking a lot better. She's moving a lot better. She's breathing a lot better. So even by her own self-reported status, she's feeling better. That inspired me to do mine. Like I said, at the minute I'm at nearly 43 and a half hours. Probably by the time I finish this and had a shower, it'll be 44 hours. In that time, I've done 2 workouts. I have done all my admin, done all the stuff I need to do for ITRM Clinic, and I don't feel bad. But remember, I've done this before. Like anything, I am used to it. I'm adapted to it. I wouldn't take someone who wanted to come training with me and just get them to lift the same weights as me unless they were at my level or higher. I wouldn't start a complete novice with doing the workout I did. So it's the same thing with the intermittent fasting. For both of us, okay, we have had years where we've done, you know, maybe start at eating 3 meals a day, because that's what you're taught, then cut it down to 2, then maybe 1 meal a day, then every so often throw in a non-eating day. I think the longest I've ever done is 4 days. That was a couple of years ago after COVID. But this is 44 hours. I'm about to go to work. I'm going to get a nice eggy omelette with some coconut oil, olive oil and a bit of cheese, because those are obviously lovely fatty substances that will get into me. I'm not going to be having carbohydrates. I might want carbohydrates, but I'm not going to have them, because again, carbohydrates are going to go into my body. Carbohydrate, sugar, it's going to raise my blood sugar, which is going to spike my insulin, which does, yeah, you know, insulin's a growth hormone, so it does help muscle growth, but it also has a lot of negative health factors that I'd rather not antagonize. So remember, yeah, insulin is muscle growth, but your heart's a muscle. Okay, your digestive system's a muscle. We don't really want to make the heart become too large, because then it won't actually be able to get its own blood, and then you get a heart attack, and that's not a cool thing. So I'm keeping my carbohydrate consumption low. Can you do this? Absolutely. I would absolutely recommend everyone have a go. Start simple. Maybe rather than having 3 meals a day, start by cutting out breakfast. You don't need breakfast. That is a lie. You do not need breakfast. Now, obviously, disclaimer, if you've got some kind of health condition and you've been told that you need to, then follow that advice. I'm saying for the majority of healthy people, there's nothing wrong with them, try and go a little bit later. Now, if cutting out breakfast is too much, and let's say you get up at 6 o'clock and have your breakfast at 6:30, why not try having your breakfast at 7 or 7:30, or maybe taking a pack up if you've got to get in earlier. Find some way, if you have to have breakfast, that you can have it without having it so early. Give your body rest time. Remember, I've never met anybody that eats when they're asleep. Not even Archie. And Archie puts everything in his mouth without thinking. So maybe, let's say you have breakfast at 7, meal at 1, and then again tea at 6 or 7. Why not, for example, have your tea at 6 and then try and not eat until, say, 13 or 14 hours later? So that's 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's a really nice, easy way that you can do every so often that helps you. Cut out processed food. I can't begin to tell you how bad that is for you. And I know it's easy. You know, you got kids, you're trying to, you know, time restricted parenting and all that malarkey. But believe me, get in touch if you want to know more. But believe me, once you understand the harms of giving your children processed food, genuinely you'll stop. It's phenomenal. We are setting ourselves up for a tidal wave of chronic health. If you're worried about the NHS, stop eating sugar. Really simple. You don't need that much sugar. So, what am I doing in the sauna? Well, fundamentally, the great thing about being in the sauna, okay, so I've been in for 14 minutes. I don't know if you can see that. My heart rate, no you can't, but my heart rate's showing 131. So even though I'm sat, and obviously I'm talking, my heart rate is above my normal. What that means is, it's making my heart work without working. So it's helping to vasodilate, open up all my blood vessels. It's helping to get blood rushing around my body that's bringing nutrients in from my fat stores and taking the rubbish away to my liver and my kidneys. And my kidneys is converting all the breakdown products into the good stuff that I can actually utilise. Do you have to have a sauna? No, you don't. Would I recommend one? Absolutely. This one I got in a sale 3 years ago, 1,299 quid. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Mentally I feel better, physically I feel better. I love it. Okay. And I would love you to have as much information about how to help yourself as possible. So, what the sauna's doing as well is producing something called heat shock proteins. Now, heat shock proteins are proteins released in response to heat. But the good news is they are also released in other times of stress. So by releasing these proteins in a slow and controlled way, I'm helping my body to fight infection long term. Not just infection, but all sorts of other nasty diseases. So heart and lung problems, mental problems, all these things that I could be subjected to. I'm not waiting till I get them and then doing something about it. Join me, do something about it before it becomes a problem. Now, I've been rambling on for 16 minutes and 20 seconds. If you've watched it this far, fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate. If you'd like more information, get in touch with me and I will help you. This is Aidan from ITRM on Wednesday, the 3rd of December, 2024. Signing out, saying well done, WFL. Keep on keeping on. I'm going to stop at 44 hours and have a lovely, cheesy, eggy omelette. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow on my Instagram stories. In the meantime, tatty bye.